Let's continue with our experiment. We shall now move on to the next turn, if you will. So this would be like turn 2. Actually, probably like turn 3. So let's go ahead and follow the procedure, which is the activation sequence. We'll roll for our first unit. We got to roll better than a 7 on a 10-sided die to activate it at 100%. And if we fail, we have to see what percentage. And that's a pass. So thankfully, up here, this entire sector has activated successfully. So let's just go ahead and move those men. Okay, we've successfully activated the sector up here. We're going to now move these units. So in doing that, we acknowledge the fact that the defending player is going to declare when he wants us, the moving player, the activated player, to stop moving and receive combat. He can do that any time as soon as combat begins. So let's just go ahead and move those guys, and then when we have the defending player wishes to fire, we'll stop. So, in looking this over, it looks as if the Confederates are going to try and exploit this region right here. And to do that, they're simply going to go ahead and move. Now, be advised, we do have a unit up here with 2 levels of fatigue on it. And these units here are going to be moving through the trees. So the better thing for them to do is to remain in place and exchange fire. And here's what we were talking about earlier, about having those little green pieces underneath. So let's borrow these as they're not being used. Put them underneath these ones. Move these trees out of the way. Okay, so now we can see where and the other unit will remain stationary. The commander will improve its performance, so it'll get back to 0. Commander's presence and the fact that it won't move will remove the 2 levels of fatigue. And this third unit will just perhaps move it to the right and take up a position down here. So 1, 2, and 3 doesn't quite get it into combat orientation just yet. So we've got at least the 3 here that we can shoot. The 3 units, put the commander right here to influence all 3 of them. And at the end of this turn, we'll we'll remove the fatigue indicator. So what we'll do is probably pick up that gun back there. We'll pick up this gun and we'll move it. So 1, 2 across the field, and it's not unlimbered. So we'll just show it like this for now. And the rest of these units are going to have levels of fatigue because they came through this area. So all these have at least 1 level of fatigue. This guy here is going to experience 2 levels and get into this tree area. So that won't be a combat obscurity firing through here, but definitely is going to have a level of fatigue. So let's move our other 1, 2, and 3 like this, and move this one here and pivot like this. So at least we have all of those units firing. And preparing to fire. And the Union players probably going to go ahead and fire, if possible, these 2 regiments here in this artillery battery, and as we said before, splitting the fire of this battery, half going this way and half going forward to this Confederate infantry unit up on the hill, and then this battery here will also be firing up there. Well, the Union player is probably going to attempt to move his other forces into this gap, or perhaps into this earthwork area right there. And as we said before, we should probably roll to see if that's a possibility on the commander's value. Or if we make the determination that there's no rolling necessary. Kind of seems odd though, because you shouldn't give a commander complete freedom to do whatever he wishes to do. There has to be some kind of checks and balances in that. We can't allow players, and the system can't allow complete knowledge. It needs to have somewhat uncertainty about it. So what we'll do is we'll compromise like that and roll on the commander's value and see which of these units gets behind this area, and then or moves up right into here where there probably is some earthwork, but we don't show any. So what we'll do is, we'll put a piece of fence there, because there should be something. There should be something there. We'll put this piece of fence there. So we'll roll to see which of these two guys gets positioned up there. That seems like a good compromise. First of all, we'll roll to see if the commander thinks of it, acknowledges it, and that's on his tactical value, which is a 7, so higher than that, and he fails it, so he doesn't completely or successfully acknowledge the fact that a unit needs to move there. So what he'll do is, the minimum, face a unit instead of putting a unit there. So the minimum will be to face that direction, and probably face this one as well, so they can have at least that much. So again, we failed to acknowledge this needed to have units behind it, and the minimum would be to make facing changes in the commander's forces. All right, so that's about it. What will happen now is no other actions will happen on this area, so we'll do the firing. We'll take this smoothbore gun to the same target that's up in the open there. Automatic color code. So it's a code and color. Commander's not here, so it's a straight up white star die roll to get a hit. Oh, Union's luck continues. It's a little extraordinary because of the fact that it does seem pretty lucky to be consistent hitting. Well, because of that, we now need to check and see if that commander gets killed. And again, that's the CNC roll result, in other words, the white star. And he does not. He does not get killed. So they suffered a hit. Now the infantry is going to fire. Let's take closest unit here. Is the automatic color code and color again. So it's just out of musket range. And I believe the same would be here. Automatic color code and color, and code and color just gets to the, well, you know what? Automatic color code and color just reaches. Let's just go ahead and call that. That's close enough for these two guys. Automatic color code and color again. These are all going to be within range of this, but not here. They're all going to be within range of this infantry. So unfortunately, they're also in range of these gunners though too. Let's take automatic color code and color. Let's take automatic color code. So these are all CNC ranges. let's take, you know what? They really are all in range to this spot right here. Okay, all these units right here are all in range of this region right here. So what'll happen is we'll take 1, 2, 3 on here, this unit, and we'll take these two, we'll take this one straight ahead, automatic color code, code and color, and code and color again, that's good enough. So extreme range, well actually wait, this is beside the point. They're at extreme range, well this is what we were talking about. So at extreme range, the die roll is the white star, CNC die roll result. So behind the cover, of course, makes it 1 pip higher, and that's impossible. And then it's double cover because they're breastworks, or they're earthworks. So that just makes it doubly impossible. And what it, I suppose, implies is that it can't be hit. Casualties cannot be caused. If it was a single level higher, then no, there's no way to do it. So none of these troops are going to be able to affect a hit here. However, there is something to be said about quantity of hits. So if they're all impossible, they're all out of range, no damage can be inflicted here unless we could assume this rule. If they, just like we do in the hex command mechanized, if they do score a CNC result, rolling another CNC result will cause a hit. That's a theory, or that's a manifestation of the rules that we also have in hex command mechanized. So in other words, it's impossible, we know it, but there's always that chance for a lucky hit. In other words, 2 CNC die rolls. Let's try that. Each unit has to roll the star to get a hit. So again, this guy's coming forward. Nope. So you can see it's fairly impossible. This one's going down here. Nope. This one's going to go over here. Right? Is that a range? Automatic color code, yep. So in other words, they have to be pretty darn lucky to get a hit. And that's about the way it should work. Same here. Nope. And same here to here. Commander presence. But they also have a casualty hit on them. But it is simultaneous. Casualties are caused simultaneously here, unless there's other extenuating circumstances. So that hit does not count for the hiss. So, normally they would need 2 stars to get a hit. The commander presence makes it 1 star. Nope. And here, same. 2 stars. No. All right. So that was interesting. That was an interesting compromise. So for every level of cover, it doesn't mean it's impossible. It simply means you can do it, but you'll have to roll an extra die with the same result. Like we said, it would be code and color to get a hit at this range, but they're on 1 level of color, which means CNC die plus CNC die to cause a hit. Second level of cover provides that hit, instead of being a red casualty hit, is a fatigue hit. Because these guys are in such good cover, they can't get actual casualty hits, they can only suffer fatigue. In other words, a incremental level of damage, because of the fact these guys are still quite far away. Also bear in mind, these guys are going to be moving through this marsh, which is probably not what they're going to be able to do. These could be said to be impassable. So they'll have to go around or cross here, and that would be right in front of these guns. So, all right, let's take this artillery, as we said, over here, because it's simultaneous, it's okay. Automatic, color, and then code there. So we're looking for red, that's a miss. And straight ahead, automatic color code, but it's uphill, so it's code and color. And that's a miss. So that pretty much completes that firing, and now that firing, automatic color code and color. Yeah, it's still out of range on that far right side. If we go to the center here and fire this artillery, don't really need to do that now, but we should remember to do it. It's at extreme range. Okay, well, that's about all that can be done. And we'll activate the second, which is over here. So, yes. Now let's move these guys because we want to get that going here. So, 1, 2, and 3 gets them to the river. Everybody's going to, or the creek, everyone's going to get to this creek and begin to cross it. And what will happen here is we'll hold this unit, this first brigade, we're going to hold it where it is. Unfortunately, that leaves these guys still huddling behind this orchard, and that's not much cover. So what was that range? Automatic, color, code and color as well. And they do have a hit on them. So that's 2 impossibilities, 3 impossibilities. Again, it doesn't make it completely impossible, it's just extremely unlikely. I mean, it is interesting to try and test it, to add that kind of capability to the rules, instead of just saying, hey, it's completely impossible, there's absolutely no way. Because we know from history that things are always possible. The weirdest things are possible. In this case, it just might be the case we might do it that way from now on. It's an interesting tweak on the rules. So in other words, these guys are going to be fired on right now, and that's going to be a straight up shot. So automatic color code and color for the rifled musket, and we have 1, 2 units firing. And we have 1 hit, which is not good. Turns that over to a level 2. And then the artillery is going to fire as well. Automatic color code. So it's a 6-gun battery, and that's a miss. Actually, the presence of the commander brings it down to color. Should have been blue, but they still missed. They rolled CNC. So they missed. Oh, we have another one that will fire on these guys as they come down that hill. Automatic color code. Call it code and color. Commander presence brings it down to code, so red. And they missed. Okay, so there we are. Oh, over here, we're actually going to limber these up and move them. We won't bother getting out the limbers to show them on the table. We'll just move the unit. Limbering up and moving. And now we'll activate the middle to see, first of all, if they successfully activate. And they do, so 100%. Finally, what will happen is these guys over here will get up with their friend, and they will be fatigued not fatigued, but they will have a marker level of fatigue added to them. Same with these. All right, the rest of them all go. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and 3 does not quite get up. But that's 2 levels of fatigue, one for the creek and one for the line of trees. This guy should have a line of trees, as a matter of fact, going over the creek. This guy used the bridge, so he's okay. The artillery, we're going to limber them all up and move them. So limbering up and moving, 1, 2, and 3. Commander going up to the top, help his troops rally, hopefully. And that is it for that turn. So you can see that it's a plodding kind of a thing. It's a plodding kind of just a marching, slow progress. But the thing that we've learned here is there is a possibility of tweaking the combat system, which is an interesting variability on how to do the range problem or the cover problem. So in summary for that, it is to say, when you count the hexes, automatic, this is rifle fire, automatic, color, which is blue, code, which is red, code and color, which is that star, and then because it's a rifled musket, code and color again. So there we are, code and color range to cause a hit. But because they're under 1 level of cover, they'll need to roll 2 CNCs. But because it's yet another level of cover, they'll have to roll 3 CNCs. So you see, it gets to be ridiculous. In other words, yeah, it could happen, but the probability of it happening is so remote, it's almost not worth rolling. Let's just try it. Right, it's remote. So let's add a commander in this little calculation right here. Say there's a commander there. Well, that brings us down to 2 die, right? At that range. Well, we got 1. Okay, now let's do this. Let's bring them, let's say they are 1 hex further. They won't be, but let's just say they were in here. So that would bring them down now. Let's do it again. So if they were here, automatic color code and code and color. But because of the fact there's the cover of level 2, we're back to the same thing. So we're still at the same thing of having to roll that many dice, even though they get a little bit closer. Okay, so now let's move them one closer. So now it's automatic color code. We're going to call that hex this level. Okay, so that's where you have to measure right there. So automatic color code. Code and color for 1 level. Code and color again for the next level. Which is to say, automatic color code. Code and color is normal range. Code and color again is the rifled musket range. So in other words, what's happening here is because of that, now they are able to hit them with an actual star symbol. I'll explain that again. Let's just roll it. Well, it needs a star. So remember, it's because it's rifled muskets. Let's count someplace that's a little bit cleaner here. You say you're here. Say you're here. The first hex is automatic. The second is color, blue. The next one is code, which is red. The next hex is code and color, but there's an extended range because of a rifled musket, which is code and color again. So code and color at extreme musket rifle range. So put this guy back where he was. Automatic, color, code, code and color, code and color. There it is. You need a code and color at extreme range, but they're under 1 level, so they need another CNC die. But they're under 2 levels, so you need another CNC die. So you see, they're in range, but because they're under such incredible cover, the probability is extremely remote. Right, it's almost not worth rolling. But it can happen. So they get closer. that becomes, instead of 2 dice or 3 dice, now it's 2 dice. Stands to reason. Okay, almost hit. They get a little bit closer. Now instead of 2 dice, it's 1 die. Oh, that's just normal. So in other words, to get a hit, they need to be at 1, 2, and 3 hexes away to cause a hit on these earthworks. If a commander was present, that would be even a greater benefit. Now, to cause a hit there, all they need is code, which is red. Let's assume that now they're really good shots. Maybe these are elite troops. Now, at this range, all they need is color, which is blue. So it is possible. If the parameters are introduced to make it likely that these guys could cause damage in there, then it is possible. That is an interesting set of tweakable items that can be done with the rules. So it's interesting. You can play around with it. All right, let's put these guys back. We'll conclude that. We'll conclude this segment with that discussion.